Today, the world of wrestling and entertainment is in a state of shock. We're saying goodbye to an icon, a legend, a man who often seemed larger than life itself. Terry Bollea, known and loved by millions around the globe as Hulk Hogan, has passed away at the age of 71. The news, first broken by TMZ, confirmed the cause of death was a sudden cardiac arrest at his home in Clearwater, Florida. For entire generations of fans, he wasn't just a wrestler. He was a real-life superhero who told us to train, say our prayers, and eat our vitamins. He was the man who lifted a giant, and in doing so, lifted an entire industry onto his massive shoulders, carrying it straight into the mainstream. As the world begins to process this monumental loss, tributes are pouring in from Hollywood, WWE, and beyond. In this video, we'll share their reactions. Remember the man who changed wrestling forever, and take an honest look at the difficult conversations around his complicated, yet undeniable legacy. The news broke on Thursday morning and spread like a shockwaver headline that so many people had to read twice. For decades, Hulk Hogan was the very definition of larger than life, an immortal figure in pop culture. The idea that he was actually gone felt, to many, impossible. But soon, official confirmations began to roll in, lending a sad finality to the news. The first and most significant word came from the company he helped build. In a brief but respectful statement, WWE acknowledged his passing. WWE is saddened to learn WWE Hall of Famer Hulk Hogan has passed away, one of pop culture's most recognizable figures. Hogan helped WWE achieve global recognition in the 1980s. WWE extends its condolences to Hogan's family, friends, and fans. It was a powerful acknowledgement of his incredible contribution. Hogan was, without a doubt, the engine of WWE's rock and wrestling expansion that transformed the business into an entertainment juggernaut. Soon after, a more personal and effusive tribute began to circulate online, reportedly from Vince McMahon, the architect of that era. The statement called Hogan the greatest WWE superstar of all time, and a trailblazer who was the first to cross over from wrestling into a global phenomenon. Given the famously complex and often heated relationship between the two men over the decades, this speaks volumes. It was a partnership built on a shared ambition that changed entertainment history, and in this final moment, it was defined by respect. The family, through a representative, asked for privacy, but shared a brief message thanking the millions of Hulkamaniacs for their love over the past 40 years. The statement mentioned that Terry passed peacefully, surrounded by loved ones. The immediate and overwhelming outpouring from fans online was a testament to the powerful connection he built with his audience. To really understand the depth of these reactions, you have to understand the sheer scale of Hulkamania. Before Terry Bollea became Hulk Hogan, pro wrestling was a very different world. But when he returned to the World Wrestling Federation in late 1983, history started writing itself in big, bold, red and yellow letters. Just a month later, in January 1984, he defeated the Iron Sheik at Madison Square Garden to win his first WWF championship. That wasn't just a title change. It was the birth of a movement. It was the moment that lit the fuse on a cultural explosion that would define the 1980s. Hogan was a superhero for the MTV generation. With his 24-inch pythons, iconic bandana, and a charisma that could power a city, he was the perfect all-American hero. He was the driving force who, alongside Vince McMahon's marketing genius, launched wrestling into the mainstream. Think about this. He headlined 8 of the first 9 WrestleManias, an unbelievable statistic that cements him as the single most important figure during the industry's most critical growth period. And then, there was WrestleMania 3. In front of a massive crowd in the Pontiac Silverdome, Hogan faced the undefeated 8th wonder of the world, Andre the Giant. The moment he lifted the 500-plus-pound giant and slammed him to the mat is, without exaggeration, the most iconic image in the history of professional wrestling. It was a feat of strength that became a piece of American folklore. That match, and their rematch a year later, on NBC's The Main Event, drew an astonishing 33 million viewers, making it the most-watched wrestling match in U.S. history and solidifying Hogan's place as one of the most famous people on the planet. His first title reign lasted an incredible 1,474 days, and he was the first wrestler to win the Royal Rumble 2 years in a row, in 1990 and 1991. He wasn't just a part of an era, he was the era. Hulk Hogan's influence wasn't just confined to the wrestling ring. He was one of the very first to successfully bridge the gap to mainstream Hollywood, paving the way for stars like The Rock and John Cena. His journey began with a role that's now legendary in its own right. Thunderlips in 1982's Rocky III. The man who cast him, Sylvester Stallone, was one of the first to share a tribute. Posting a classic photo from the set, Stallone wrote with genuine affection about meeting the brilliant personality and showman, saying his amazing skill made Rocky III incredibly special. He ended with a simple, heartfelt message: "My heart breaks." That role was a massive launching pad, introducing the charismatic wrestler to a movie-going audience just before Hulkamania was about to explode. From there, Hollywood kept calling. He starred in a string of films that became cult classics for a generation of kids, like No Holds Barred, Suburban Commando, and Mr. Nanny. He had his own TV shows, like Thunder in Paradise, and much later, the reality show Hogan Knows Best, which gave the world an inside look at his family life. He was on lunchboxes, action figures, and the cover of Sports Illustrated. He even fronted the wrestling boot band, whose album Hulk Rules actually charted on Billboard. He wasn't just a celebrity. He was a one-man cultural brand whose image was synonymous with the 80s and 90s. Just when it seemed like the Hulkamania character had run its course, Terry Bollea did the unthinkable. In 1994, he left the WWF for its rival, World Championship Wrestling WCW, for 2 years. He continued as the Red and Yellow Hero, but the cheers were getting quieter. Then, on July 7, 1996, at the Bash at the Beach pay-per-view, he did something no one saw coming. He turned on the fans. He walked out during a match featuring 2 other WWF defectors, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, and instead of helping the WCW heroes, he dropped the leg on Randy Savage. He revealed himself as the mysterious third man. Grabbing the microphone, he cut a promo dripping with resentment, telling the fans to stick it in that moment. The heroic Hulk Hogan died, and the villainous Hollywood Hulk Hogan was born, the leader of the New World Order, the NWO. It was a creative masterstroke, arguably the most shocking and effective heel turn in wrestling history. The NWO storyline, with its cool anti-hero vibe, immediately became the hottest thing in wrestling, launching WCW to dominate the Monday Night Wars for 83 straight weeks. Hollywood Hogan, decked out in black and white, was a revelation. He was arrogant, manipulative, and way more interesting than the character he'd played for a decade. It proved that Terry Bollea was a brilliant performer who could completely reinvent himself and revolutionize the business for a second time. His success in WCW, where he became a 6-time world champion, cemented his legacy as a 2-time WWE Hall of Fame inductee, once for himself, and a second time as the leader of the NWO. As the news spread, the wrestling world reacted with a wave of grief and respect. These were the people who shared locker rooms and battled in the ring with him, the ones who truly understood his impact. One of the most poignant tributes came from his longtime friend and rival, Ric Flair. An audibly emotional Flair took to social media, writing how shocked he was, and calling Hogan an incredible athlete, talent, friend, and father. Flair shared deeply personal stories, revealing Hogan's quiet generosity. He recalled how Hogan visited him in the hospital when he had a slim chance of survival, and even lent him money when his son was sick. "Hulkster, no one will ever compare to you," he wrote. "Rest in peace, my friend." The Undertaker posted a stoic photo of Hogan with a simple, powerful caption: "The wrestling world has lost a true legend. His contributions to our business are immeasurable." Kurt Angle, another icon, spoke to the doors Hogan opened, writing, "There would not be a Kurt Angle without the American-made Hulk Hogan." Sting, his great WCW rival, simply called him the greatest of all. John Cena, one of the few who reached a similar level of mainstream fame, posted a simple, captionless picture of Hogan in his prime, a gesture of respect that needed no words. And Triple H, now a key figure in WWE management, stated plainly that WWE would not be where it is today without the larger-than-life characters. And few, if any, loomed larger than Terry "Hulk Hogan" Bollea. Even those with famously rocky relationships with Hogan, like Bret Hart, set aside past issues to acknowledge his stature. Natalia Neidhart shared a touching story of Hogan calling her just after her father died to share a memory of them wrestling in Japan, a kindness she never forgot. The message from everyone was the same. Without Hulk Hogan, wrestling as we know it would not exist. Hogan's passing resonated far beyond the ring, with tributes coming from all corners of entertainment and politics. Former President Donald Trump, a longtime friend and fellow WWE Hall of Famer, released a statement on Truth Social. He called Hogan a great friend who was be greatly missed. Other political figures shared condolences as well. Vice President J.D. Vance called Hogan a great American icon and one of the first people he admired as a kid. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis remembered the longtime Florida resident as our superhero growing up. From Hollywood, actor and host Mario Lopez posted a picture with Hogan, writing, "Grew up running wild like a true Hulkamaniac. Feels like a piece of my childhood is gone." Brooke Shields shared a throwback photo of them arm wrestling on her 90s sitcom, Suddenly Susan, writing, "Rest easy, Hulk." Barstool Sports founder Dave Portnoy summed it up bluntly: "The Hulkster was a true one American icon, a part of America. Died today, R.I.P. to a true legend." The message was clear. Hulk Hogan was more than a wrestler. He was a piece of the American cultural fabric. You can't tell the full story of Terry Bollea's life without acknowledging the controversies that deeply complicated his legacy. While he was a hero to millions in the ring, his actions outside of it caused real pain and left a lasting stain on his public image. The most damaging chapter began in 2012 when a secretly recorded sex tape was posted online by the website GOT. This led to a massive legal battle over privacy, which Hogan eventually won, bankrupting the company. But the real fallout came in 2015 when transcripts from the tape's audio were published, revealing Hogan on a racist tirade. He was heard repeatedly using the N-word while angrily discussing his daughter Brooke's dating life. The backlash was swift and severe. WWE terminated his contract, scrubbed him from their website, and removed him from the Hall of Fame. Hogan issued a public apology, calling the language unacceptable. He told People magazine, "This is not who I am." But for many, the apology rang hollow. Critics, including fellow wrestlers, felt he was more sorry for being caught than for the views he expressed. In 2018, WWE reinstated Hogan into the Hall of Fame, a move that was itself met with deeply mixed reactions from fans and wrestlers alike. This wasn't his only scandal. Over the years, Hogan's life was marked by a messy, public divorce, which included accusations of an affair. He also admitted to using steroids during his career, a revelation that tarnished the "say your prayers and take your vitamins" image for many. These incidents are not just footnotes, they're a central part of his story. For a large portion of the audience, the racism scandal in particular made it impossible to ever see him as a hero again. It fractured his legacy, creating a sharp divide between the icon in the ring and the flawed man he was outside of it. For younger generations of wrestlers and fans, Hulk Hogan represents a complicated figure. They grew up in a world where his legendary status was a fact, but so were his very public flaws. Their reactions to his passing reflect this. Many younger wrestlers, who were inspired by his career but never worked with him, have focused on his massive contributions to the business. They see the sold-out arenas and global TV deals as a house that Hogan built. For them, his work in the 80s and 90s laid the foundation for their own careers. Tributes from this generation often speak of being a little Hulkamaniac and the awe he inspired. At the same time, there's a clear sense of conflict. This generation is more attuned to social justice and is not willing to ignore the controversies. Online, you see younger fans grappling with the question, how do you celebrate the hero of your childhood when you know the man held such ugly prejudices? Many have adopted a separate the art from the artist view, choosing to honor the character of Hulk Hogan and the joy he brought, while condemning the words of Terry Bollea. This reflects a broader shift in how we view our heroes. The next generation is more willing to hold two opposing ideas at once, that someone can be responsible for something great and also for something terrible. Their reactions aren't simple hero worship. They're a complex mix of nostalgia, professional respect, and clear-eyed condemnation of his personal failings. It is, perhaps, the most honest reflection of his true legacy. When the final bell tolls, on a life as big as Hulk Hogan's, what's left is the echo of over 90,000 people roaring as he slammed a giant BV. The echo of a guitar riff signaling the arrival of the NWO. The echo of a generation of kids ripping their t-shirts and cupping their hands to their ears. For more than 2 decades, he was the center of the wrestling universe. As wrestling historian Dave Meltzer once noted, you can't possibly overstate his significance to the business. He sold more tickets to wrestling shows than anyone who ever lived, but it was bigger than that. He was a cultural touchstone who made wrestling cool and turned it into family entertainment. He was the real-life superhero who made millions believe. But that heroic story isn't the whole story. The final chapters of his life were defined by a struggle for redemption after his own words and actions forever changed how he was seen. Ignore that would be a disservice to the truth. His legacy isn't a clean narrative of heroism. It's a complex, messy tapestry, woven with threads of incredible triumph and deep failure. He was a hero. He was a villain. He was an icon. He was a pariah. He was loved and he was condemned. Terry Bollea was all of these things. And maybe the true measure of his impact is that even in death, he forces us to confront these contradictions, to question what makes a hero, and to struggle with reconciling the myths we love with the flawed humans who create them. The wrestling world has lost a true titan. There will never be another Hulk Hogan. His shadow looms over the entire industry, an inescapable presence that will be felt as long as there's a ring and a story to be told. He was a man who changed the game not once, but twice, and his name will forever be synonymous with professional wrestling. The countless tributes paint a picture of a man as complex as he was famous. One who brought immeasurable joy to millions while also causing deep pain. He was a true one-of-a-kind, an American icon whose life will be debated and celebrated for years to come. But for all the debate, one thing is certain. For a golden moment in time, he was the ultimate hero. He made us believe, and for that, the world will always remember him. Rest in peace, Hulk, Ster. Now we want to hear from you. What's your favorite Hulk Hogan memory? Was it the body slam, heard round the world? The shocking turn to Hollywood Hogan? Let us know in the comments below.